Hello and welcome to the preview of DArcomage, or DArcomage, version 1.beta.16.03. DArcomage is a card game based on the Arcomage minigame in Might and Magic 7 for Blood and Honor and Might and Magic 8 Day of the Destroyer, whose goal is to build your tower to the top, demolish the opponent's tower, or accumulate a set amount of resources. This project of mine is the same project that I previously called Arcomage Clone. The name change happened due to the changes I did. That is, the whole front end was rewritten from C into the D programming language. In addition, it now uses SDL2 instead of SDL1 for setting up the game window. That allows for better longevity of the project, such as being able to run it in Wayland and eventually a smart full-screen mode. But those changes are hardly visible to the end users right now, so let's go over the more prominent features I recently added to DArcomage. First of all, one of the most obvious changes is that the game now has sound. Another prominent change is the special effects when a card is played. Each card now makes particles appear from the resources that it changes, making the effects easy to tell at a glance. The particle amount is exactly the amount of resources that were gained or lost, so you get a small trickle if the card did hardly anything, and a huge fountain if the effect was really strong. The effects are also done resource by resource, instead of everything at once, making for some interesting animation and sound sequences. Next, there is now a larger variety of card decks included in the backend library LibArcomage. From the two new decks, one is themed after spell cards in the Toho project, in particular the game embodiment of Scarlet Devil. I created the deck as a modding exercise. LibArcomage is easily moddable, so anyone can easily create and distribute card decks for it, which, when installed, will work for all frontends to the library. The second deck, still not entirely finished, but already very playable, is the Mrcomage Car Deck. This deck comes from the web-based Mrcomage game, and my long-term goal in LibArcomage is to support all Mrcomage card features. Some of those have already been implemented, like additional color cards. Black cards do not cost anything to play, and white cards cost all three resources equally. The Mrcomage deck is also now set as the default deck, but you can configure to use any deck combination you want. The original Arcomage deck hasn't gone anywhere either. For instance, here you can see me play with all three decks enabled at once, and also with the classic Arcomage sounds and background, all done by changing the configuration files. Just like before, you can also change the starting resources and victory conditions. By default, they have been set to be randomized on each match start. Another significant change is that now, after winning or losing, and also when pressing the escape button, you get returned to the main menu of the game. At that point, the configuration is reread, so you no longer need to restart the game every time you make a configuration change. Speaking of the main menu, you can now play hot seat games, and opponent cards are now hidden by default. Hot seat capability is something that hasn't been available even in the original Arcomage, but due to the way LibArcomage is coded, adding it to DArcomage was very easy. That said, the game is still currently in the beta phase, hence why all the other main menu buttons still work as the quit button, and some issues still remain. You can look over them and report new ones that you find over at GitHub Bug Trackers, the links to which are in the description of the video. Note that bugs that involve the cards and gameplay should be reported in LibArcomage, and bugs that involve input and graphics should be reported to DArcomage. What is more, this release I paid more attention to packaging and standards compliance. The build system of both DArcomage and LibArcomage is now CMake, which is a bit more complex to use, but is easily packageable. Both of the software pieces now support the file system hierarchy standard and the freedustup.org XDG base directory specification. And on Windows also have user account control, UAC, compliance. The practical use for all that is that now there are more standardized installation mediums for DArcomage. On Linux, if you're using OpenSUSE, you can install the game by adding the devel languages D repository, or simply by searching for DArcomage in software.opensuse.org and using the one-click install method. Meanwhile, on Windows, these changes mean that now there are installers available, and for both 32-bit and 64-bit versions of Windows. Of course, regular zip downloads are still provided as well. On non-OpenSUSE Linux distributions, you'll have to compile the software from source, or install or unpack OpenSUSE RPMs. Of course, if you'd like to try packaging the game for your distribution of choice, feel free to contact me with any questions. Then the other practical application of all those standards is that you can install the game in one place and change game settings in each user's home directory, making the system more secure and having different users not interfere with each other's game configuration. This is no news for Linux users, who usually expect this feature out of all programs. So to override the settings, copy the whole settings directory from user share Arcomage to local share Arcomage, and do your changes there. This feature should also be no news for users of currently supported Windows versions, but for some reason many Windows users tend to ignore security practices. Regardless, on Windows, users can also override the global settings by copying the program files DArcomage share Arcomage folder to AppData Arcomage, or AppData roaming Arcomage, depending on the Windows version. Lastly, together with DArcomage, there's also a new release of Clarcomage, or command line Arcomage, version 1.alpha.16.03. It received a few usability enhancements and benefits from the new cards in LibArcomage, but otherwise there haven't been many changes. I would like it to use ncurses eventually, but I'm not focusing on that yet. As it is, it's very simple. The whole code is below 150 lines of code, and that includes comments as well. So it can be used as a basis for new frontends, or as an introduction to both the D language and LibArcomage. So that was everything I wanted to cover in this preview video. The download links for both DArcomage and Clarcomage, as well as the links to the source code, are in the description of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.